It goes back to my LeBron and D. Wade theory. You put two smart, great players together, they'll figure it out. Kareem, Magic, LeBron, Wade, Durant, Steph. When you put all-timers together, if they have any self-awareness and basketball IQ, and Harden and Chris Paul do, it's going to work. I heard a lot of this. They both need the ball. D'Antoni's system's not perfect for Chris Paul. Chris Paul's not clutch. James, they've won 88% of the games they've played together this year. It has worked magnificently, and if it wasn't for something called the Warriors or current dynasty, they'd probably win the NBA championship.
Where Colin was wrong.
I said it 3 weeks ago, and the world got nutty on me. I said, listen, LeBron's still the best player in the league, but I don't believe the league is as beholden to LeBron as it used to be, because I think Philadelphia and Ben Simmons and the Celtics are going to make the East Ali versus Frazier for the next decade. Okay, Ben Simmons was awful in Game 2. He had a point, didn't hit a field goal, and he went passive. You know what this came down to? He just wasn't ready for the moment, and that's okay. Now, I didn't think he'd ever be that bad, because, by the way, the following game that everybody's banging on him for, he went 16-8-8. Okay, he took a bad shot at the end of the game. He was still a very effective player for most of it. But the one-point game, I didn't see coming. It felt very much to me like LeBron James in his 8th year in the finals in Miami against Dallas, where LeBron, something upstairs didn't click, and he just wasn't quite ready to finally win a championship. Now, I made him a better player afterwards, and I think this will make Ben Simmons a better player, but in the moment, he just was not ready.
Where Colin was right?
Listen, I just didn't buy into Toronto. I didn't buy him in the regular season. I didn't buy him in the postseason. We called him last week LeBronto, that LeBron officially owns the franchise. Even the broadcast pick up on it.
And that's the end of the third quarter of play. Cleveland outscored Toronto by 13. We'll be back to LeBronto for the fourth quarter after this.
You're welcome. Number one, they don't have a closer. The playoffs are all about situational closers. Kyle Lowry's their second-best player. I like Kyle Lowry. If he's your second-best player, you're not winning an NBA championship. You're not winning a conference championship. And I've always just felt like LeBron has a power over this franchise. I mean, it's embarrassing. He's won, 29 of the last 30 games in Cleveland against Toronto. He's won. He hit the game winner the other night. I just never bought into their depth and Dwayne Casey and Kyle Lowry. And once again, it's not Toronto, it's LeBronto.
Where Colin was wrong.
Now, I will say this. I said Thursday night, I don't bet the NBA. But I said if I did, I'd push all my chips in Game 2 to the Raptors. I mean, they got beaten Game 1. I'm like, they're not going to lose. Vegas even made them a 7-point favorite. I mean, when's the last time LeBron played Toronto and was a 7-point dog? So Vegas loved Toronto. And LeBron happened to play arguably the greatest game of his life. And so I'm sorry if you bet your mortgage and kids' education, but I whiffed on that Game 2 thing.
Where Colin was right?
Every time I say this, the internet implodes, but you can tell the story of the NBA without Kentucky basketball. You can't tell the story of the NBA without LeBron and without Kobe and without Duncan and without Duke basketball, without Michigan State where Magic Johnson went. And there are 30 current NBA players from Kentucky. None of them, once again, will be in the conference finals. Karl Anthony Towns, see ya. Anthony Davis, Rondo, John Wall, Eric Bledsoe. Raw talent has a ceiling. And once again, here we go to the conference finals and the supposed great basketball program. You can't tell the NFL story without Alabama or Ohio State or USC. You can't. You can't tell the NFL story without Wisconsin. Russell Wilson, J.J. Watt. You can tell the NBA story all time without Kentucky basketball. They just don't end up mattering at this time in the NBA playoffs.
Where Colin was right?
Well, now for the past several weeks, I have been saying the Boston Celtics are going to be the dynasty in the NBA. For the next 10 years, the Boston Celtics will be the dynasty. And when you watch them dispose of Philadelphia, and they're doing it without Kyrie Irving, and they're doing it without Gordon Hayward, and by the way, don't kid yourself, there is the possibility Boston would love to get their hands on Kawhi Leonard. Okay, there's a lot of trade possibilities. They are accumulating massive talent. Boston is, for the next 10 years, the system that will dominate the East.
Where Colin was wrong.
I didn't think Charles Barkley, after a humorous moment on television, would have to apologize for saying he wanted to punch Draymond Green in the face. I thought everybody laughed. I thought we didn't take it literally. And then Charles Barkley did this.
I just want somebody to punch him in the face. I really do. I just want somebody to punch him in the face. Why you don't like Draymond? Yo, Jared, I want to punch him in the face. Why you don't like Draymond? I'm just telling you, I want to punch him in the face. I do. I apologize to Draymond Green. I meant what I said. But I would never punch an NBA player. But what I said was wrong, and I apologize.
It's 2018. Twitter exploded. It's our PC culture. I still think everybody laughed. We all got it was a joke. Nobody really took it seriously. But this is the world we live in. I was surprised Charles Barkley had to apologize. And finally,
where Colin was right.
Report that Cleveland, the Browns, were the only